Yellow Bone, you say? Now who's that?
I heard that boy a fool. Yeah, he nice with them customs. Yellow Bone, the neighborhood customizer. Yeah, that boy wow. Alright, what's up y'all? It's Yellow Bone, the neighborhood customizer. I just wanted to stop my machine real quick. I'm running a run of hats, but it's a beautiful rainy Sunday, and I figured I'd go ahead and make this video while the kids are out the house, because otherwise they'd come in and distract me. But I wanted to make a video on your screen for the EM1010 Ricoma EM1010 screen. Okay, this is going to be a good video for beginners. Maybe I'll show some of the people who have had their machine for a while a couple of new tricks that they didn't know. But I just wanted to go ahead and go through this while I had the chance. Ignore the black in my fingernails. I spent the last 3 days trying to get my Trailblazer back running, which I did. It's not a full fix, but I did bypass what I needed to get fixed so I can at least get back and forth from work without stealing my wife's car. So anyways, let's get to it. First of all, I'm running a design right now. I've got some hats running right now, and what I'm going to do is exit out of here so that I can show y'all everything that I want to show y'all, because you can't see everything whenever you are in the middle of your design. But I will show you that you can indeed exit out of your design if you need to. Say you're doing an order and a customer calls and asks, hey, I have an emergency. I need to get that one hat that I ordered from you in 30 minutes. And you're like, oh, I'm not stitching it right now. I'm in the middle of something, but I do have the design ready. So let me just swap out the design. So what you want to do is, while you are in the screen, is hit your origin button right here. Okay, and that's going to take you back to the beginning of where you started on this design. I'm doing a double stitch right now, the front and the side at the same time, which I always start lining up over here next to my seam. So that's why it jumped all the way over here, because I'm doing side and front at the same time, which you have to digitize. You have to get it digitized in order to do that. So I'm in my normal screen right now. I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of embroidery mode. And let's see, where should we start? Let's start with settings, okay? I guess we could just start from the top, really. Let's start up here with your needle choices. This is just where you can go and manually change in between needles. You'll see it just switched from my number 9 to my number 1, or you'll hear it. I'm on my screen. So you're just switching between needles right here. This comes in handy when you're like stuck at the one outside of the 100 axis up here. This is your main axis, the 100 degree. When you're stuck outside of that axis at like 97, you can manually push down on your needle like I'm doing now. Say it's stuck right there, you can push it a little bit further to 100, or you might have to push it upwards a little bit further to 100. But once you get this number back to 100, you can come over here and just hit a different needle than the one you're on, and it'll reset your main axis and reset your needle back to where it was, because your 100 is going to be saying it's down at the bottom where it's stuck at. So that'll reset that. These are settings for whenever you are when you are fixing your timing. So your 173, 195, and 100. Of course, 100 is where you need to be. 195 is where you are going to be setting your timing at. And I think 173 is like right above whenever where your timing is. So your timing at the 195 is where your needle is catching your thread. And I believe the 173 is as deep as it will go. So 173 is as far down as it wants to go. And then 100, of course, is back at the beginning. So that's that. This is pretty simple. You can go, let's see, exit out of there. Now let's go over to files. Of course, this is where you can have your file, your USB right here. I pulled it out so it popped me out of file. So you got your files, you can go on your USB. This is the files that you have loaded onto your screen already. You can load by over here. Let's say I pick the boss right here. You hit that machine button right there, and it just pushed it over to my machine, which I'll find it on the last page. Boss right there, right? Now you can also, which this comes in handy if you lose a file on your computer, but you still have it on your USB. You can actually be in your USB or in your machine. Say you have it on your machine, but you lost it on your USB. If you have it on your machine still, then you can go and pick it. Let's do the one that I did. And you can push it back to the file. So now it's back on the file. And it is also on my machine, which I can delete it off. Hit the X button, delete design. Okay, that'll get it off of my machine. On the EM1010, you only have 20 pages, 10 designs per page. So that's 200 designs total capacity that the EM1010 can hold. Let's see, that's pretty much everything on here. Let's escape out of there. Now you've got your color changes, your worksheet, and this is where you set up everything for when your design is running. You've got your frame out button right here. You've got your low speed button right here. So these are good. Frame out, say you're doing an applique design, and all the way to right there, say this is where my applique design is gonna start. If my applique design starts on number 1 thread, which is blue, and I'm ending the regular stitching on number 4, and then I want to start applique on number 1, but don't want it to start number 1 before I do a process, I do my function for F. I do my function on the one before where I need to be changing, because whenever you add that frame out function to this, it's going to frame out when that finishes. It's going to run number 4, and then it's going to frame out before number 1 starts. So that's how you do your frame out function. Let's say number 4 is really small lettering, and I want to run it slower so I get a cleaner stitch out. You can hit L for low speed. All right. And you have to do it on the one that you want to be going low speed. Now that just shows you all the different color choices of that same needle. Number 9, my first color is the only color in that, so it doesn't show me any others. But this is good if you've got a large spreadsheet and you're trying to find one of your needles. Anyway, this is your auto. So this is telling you whenever I'm switching in between these color frames, what am I doing? Is it going to do it automatically? That's auto whenever you're set right here. So it's going to run through this whole design non-stop unless you get a thread break or something. If I do auto manual, it's going to run one of these color changes, and then at the end of it, it's going to stop. And I'll have to come in and press start in order for it to run the next one. It'll stop at that one. I have to come in and press start to run the next one. This is good if you're doing appliques also, and you want to make sure that you're not messing anything up. Just run it one at a time, auto manual. And then manual is you always have to be pressing start on all of it to keep it going. Of course, these are just where you, whenever you're on a tile, you're choosing in your color sheet. It'll be which needle you've got it on. So 9 is my gold, so I choose 9 for my first color because that's my gold, and then I continue through according to my color sheet. All right, then you hit OK to get out of there and have everything saved. So now we're in our design set. So our design set right here, at the top, you've got your X and your Y axis, and this is how you can change the size of your design while you're still inside of your embroidery machine, right? So if I want it to be smaller from left to right in width, then I'm going to change my X-axis, which at 100% is the normal size of how I loaded it. 85% is about the lowest you want to go without having to change the stitch count. Did y'all see how that shrunk down? And then I can go to the Y and do 85. Okay. and it shrinks it down. So I just shrunk my design by 15% in size in both directions. I can move it back to 100%. I can move it back to 100%. Now it's to the original size that it was, or if I wanted to make it bigger, I can do it at 115%. And you don't want to go too much further than a 15% skew. Now you see how it just got a lot bigger right there? But remember, you don't want to move too far in and out of that 15%. If I just wanted to change the size just a little bit, I can do, let's say 95. Oops, always clear it and then do your number. 95, 95, okay. And I just shrunk the design barely by 5% both directions. Let's keep it at 100 where I had it. All right, so now we've got your directional functions. This button right here, this is going to flip your design to the direction that you need it on the machine. All right, so if you ever have to reverse your design like this, you can flip it. For hats, it's always like that, and that orientation, but for hats, you usually only do one or the other, either so you can read it on the screen or so it's flipped upside down. You might change it on your flats a lot more depending on how you hooped your flat and which direction the lettering needs to be going. Then right here, this is an angle change. I don't use this very often at all, but you can go in and change the angle that it's sitting at. You see that? And that's good if, say, you hoop the design, and once you get it onto the machine, you realize that you are crooked, and you've got to offset a little bit in order for it to come out straight. You can do that instead of re-hooping it. I always suggest just re-hooping and making sure that you're straight, because you never know if you're going to get that angle right. But you could at least get it to where it's acceptable. I know a lot of us are perfectionists, though. Let's see, back in here. I'm not going to lie to you. I do not know what these columns are right here. I haven't played with those. I really don't know what these are either. Have to play with those someday and figure out. The cap, hoop, or your hoop selection page right here, you've got all your different hoop selections that you can choose from, and then other, it's just one that you made up yourself. I'm staying on hoop. I'm actually not even gonna mess with that, because if I go in here and do cap and then hit OK, it's gonna reset me to the center. It's gonna take my center dot to the center, and I've got that center where I want it to continue my design from where I was. I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast, y'all. I'm known to do that. So that's everything in the design set. I'm honestly not sure what this is either. Maybe it increases your density. 0.3, okay. Oh yeah, I think that increased the density. So this looks like it increases density. Y'all saw how that's getting fatter and thicker. Might increase push-pull, actually. I bet you that increases the push and pull. Let's see. So if I were to do 0.1, it barely increased the push and pull. But if I were to do 0.3 is the highest the machine will let me do it, it increases it significantly. So that's push-pull. So say you are doing some small letters and it's sinking into your hat, and you don't need to get it that much more thick, should we say, in order for it to show up good. I bet you can go in here, change it to 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, whatever it needs to be, however much more thicker you think it needs to go, and that'll thicken the line that you're doing. It's going to increase, decrease the push-pull. So if you do a -1, yeah, it'll get tighter. -3. No, I said -3. Y'all see that? Y'all see how that design gets a whole lot tighter? So that's exactly what that is. That's push-pull compensation. clear it out, 0, back to normal. I've got all my push-pull how I need it in the digitizing, but that's what that is. Then we escape out of there. Now in here is, I can't hit it because I'm not in the design yet. I'm actually going to come back to that because we're going to use some settings in here to get back where I was in this design. So let's go to the embroidery. So here in your embroidery screen, there's a lot of settings that you can change. So you've got your jump to trim, length after trim. If you're having really long tails and you're having trouble getting the tails to go away with your machine settings and tension settings, you can come in here and decrease the length of that trim and get rid of it that way. If you're slipping, I've got mine up here at 7 because I was having trouble with my machine. I think it's set at 3 or 4. But I was having trouble with my machine, the thread slipping out after every thread cut. And I was having trouble getting the tension right, so I just increased the length after trim, and that fixed that. Moving frame after trim, no. Hook motor speed is 5, just keep that normal. That's just your hook coming out and grabbing your thread. Trim function, yes, we want it to trim. I don't really know what needle of boring is. Thread broken sensitivity, so that's if the sensitivity of your thread breaks. You can change it to no check. I had issues once when I was in the middle of an order and my black kept on throwing off a false thread break every about 100, 200 threads or so. It would throw off a false thread break. So I would go in and turn off the thread break sensitivity and let it run. Of course, keeping my eyes on it to make sure the thread didn't break. And then I came back and turned that back to where it was. Auto back when thread break, you'll have a thread break. It's going to take you back just 4 threads or just a little bit. I do that manually. Move on to embroidery 2 screen. Main axis speed, here's a big one. Here's a big one. You see how that says 1200? Our speed on the EM1010 is at 1000. It's set at 1000 when you get your machine, but you can crank it up to 1200. This is how you get it to crank up to 1200, because on your screen, when you're increasing and decreasing your speed per stitch or per minute, stitches per minute, you can't go above 1000. That's just because you have to adjust this. Your main axis start speed is how fast the needle is going to start going. So you know how at the beginning it's chick, 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 chick. I've got mine set a little bit higher so that it'll do a couple of clicks and then it'll get to going. We don't want to waste no time, you know what I'm saying? So we got that set. Long stitch embroidery mode, that's whenever you're doing long satin stitches and you're jumping back and forth. It's a lot better to run slow whenever you're running like that. Auto jump stitches, I don't really mess with that. Auto speed down whenever you get above 3 millimeters. So you set this to whatever thickness of your satin stitch you want it to slow down at. So if at 4 millimeter satin stitch, my machine will slow down automatically. I'm gonna keep it at 3. Stitches value, don't really know what that is. Speed down at jump is just how much your machine slows down before it makes a jump stitch. Max frame speed, that's the frame moving, no real reason to move that from 4. Color change motor speed, how fast your color changes. I've got mine up at 4. 5 is the max. Frame control type, I don't really know. Frame move angle, don't really mess with that either. See if any of these other ones. Auto back, yeah, we don't mess with those. You really leave all of those alone. Embroidery 4, main axis break delay. That's whenever your main axis goes off, how long is it going to take for your machine to stop. Auto back offset, nothing. This is how many slow motion stitches you have before it jumps into stitching really fast. You can change this and increase it if you're having issues with your thread catching. that's another way to change, another one that you can change and fix up. Let's see here, you adjust your calibration of your screen. You don't need to do that. Mine's calibrated pretty good, but if you ever find yourself hitting a button and it's not hitting, and you know you're hitting it and you have to hit it in a different area to get it to go, you might have to recalibrate your screen, which is just gonna pop up and have you touch buttons that are up in there and recalibrate it. Don't mess with that. Here are your parameters. Let me go back. This bottom right here, this little tool screen with the frame, that's your parameter screen, okay? You can go in and change these parameters at your X size and Y size. All right, that's where you change the size of your parameter. And you'll see my hat is set at 360 for the X, 90 for the Y. That gives you more than enough space to move around to your frame's full capability. But you may be outside of your frame right there. You'll see on your hat, if you push it too high up to the top, whenever you run your trace, it'll actually bring your design back down after it runs the trace on the screen, because you're outside of your machine's functional size. So I got my B frame, which is a 4x4 or 4.5 by 4.5. I've actually got that set up to closer to 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, because that's the true size that I can reach. But you do have to make sure you're tracing, because if you're running into the corner of the design, you will show trouble. It won't show you any trouble on the top, bottom, left, or right, but in the corners, if you're running a design that runs down into the corners and it's running that full frame, you'll end up hitting your frame. So I've got mine maxed out, and you have to be really careful about how you run them when they're maxed out. I've got my 190 by 140 or something like that, 130. I've got that changed to 250 and 165 so that I can max out the frame size. And I haven't changed my 310 by 210 because I haven't had a reason to, really. So that is that. That's the frames. So now let's escape out of here. This is just your button to start embroidery or turn embroidery off. This is your safety zone pretty much. Even if you press start, it won't start embroidering. That's good to be in whenever you are trying to fix something. Menu. So in your menu, there's a few things that you can kind of see, just details of your machine. This isn't really anything you have to mess with. So the only really thing that I have to show you in this page is this is where you can manually put font from your machine. The ABC right here, I can pull this up. I can type in a name, Keith. Who we kidding? Yellow Bone. I can type it in. And then, okay, it's going to take me to my next screen. Font size. So this is in millimeters, right? So 20 is 20 millimeters, which is about 1/4 of an inch tall, maybe. Let's say we put this at 50 millimeters. Font density is at 0.9. Let's change it to 0.5. Don't worry about the angle, don't worry about the compensation and all of that. This is really just for a quick make. I go over here and I can actually, it shows me what it looks like. So maybe I need to change my font. I can go through here and change from the fonts that are given to me. And it will show an example right there. Let's see. Okay. Thought there was somewhere where it let me. Oh, font distance. Oh, no. Okay. Font density, font distance. That will change the distance between each letter. Open it up a little bit. It's not very much, huh? What happens if we do 55? I haven't played with this too much. So there you go. 55 gives you a whole lot of distance change. So I guess it'll be by the same as in Chroma increments. Say 15 will probably be good to give you a little bit of space between them. Yeah, that's not bad right there. And of course you can change your font. Let's do this one. And once you've got it how you would like it, hit right here and it's gonna load it to your machine. Now I can escape out. I can go to files, I can go to my machine, and the very last one on there is my Yellowbone design that I just, oh no, I didn't mean to load that. That's okay. All right, so I loaded it, but I'm still in the same point. I haven't exited out of this point where I'm at, so my machine knows that's where I want my center set up all the time. Let's exit out of here. Go back to file. I have to find the file I had in there, which was Ferguson. Right there. Put that back in and it's right back to where it was. So that's the cool thing about these machines is unless you manually reset out of where you were, your machine's always going to stay there and remember where it's at. So we're going to look at that now because I've obviously started this design and got out of it. So what I'm going to do is show y'all how you will get back to where you were working. First, we're going to hit this enter embroidery status button. Okay. And now we can go into this needle I was talking about later, or this part of the page I was talking about earlier. So hit that button. Here's where you can change your speed, but this is actually where you move forward and back whenever I've got it on the FL, the float low and then float high. So this is a low speed float. It's going to take me stitch by stitch, move by move. This is a float at a high speed. It's not going to move until you see on the screen it's moving, but it's not moving the machine. And when I let it go, it's going to move to where I wanted it. So you've got a low float and a high float speed. If you're running your machine slow but want to move through a project a little bit faster or move through a color change a little bit faster, you can exit out of there, go back to the beginning, and here, let's say I was on 600, it's gonna float slower because I'm on that 600. So I can increase this up to 800, go back, float it through, and then get back to where I wanted it, and then go back into it here and go back down. That way I'm at the speed I want to stitch at, but you'll move a lot faster through it whenever you're at your highest speed here. But if you want to jump through colors, so let's say in my instance, I'm pretty much done with this front color. I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning. So I'm gonna want to jump forward. So I go here, and this is where you can jump in between your color choices. You see how that jumped me all the way to the end of my number 9 file. Now it takes me all the way to the end of my next one, all the way to the end of my next one, all the way to the end of my next one. This is how you move through your design fast, okay? So I'm here, and I want to go backwards from here to get where I want to be, instead of starting from the design at the beginning and moving forward and taking even longer to get back where I need to be. So once I get to the beginning of this wrench, no, I have to get back to the other wrench. I didn't finish the other wrench yet. There we go. There we go. A little bit further forward. Right there. And I should be able to press start and be right back to where I was. Look at that. Pause it. I'm gonna get rid of this extra thread. so it doesn't get stitched over and become a hassle to clean up. Let's start again. And I'm right back to running where I was, y'all. That's all I wanted to show y'all today. I know this is a long video, but it has a lot of information, so I sure hope it helps somebody. Happy Sunday to y'all. God bless all of y'all. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, please. It really does help out. Make sure you watch all of my videos. I promise I hide little gems of information inside of my videos. I might be talking about one certain topic, but I'm always trying to pass on some knowledge whenever it comes to my mind. So make sure y'all are watching the entire video and you'll get a whole lot of knowledge out of it, okay? Appreciate y'all. Have a blessed one.